talking about what smart cities mean from the part of the city that often is the most challenged, the inner city, the underserved part of the community. To talk about smart cities from the ground up, please join me in bringing to the stage a good friend of Green Business, the co-founder of the Institute for Sustainability, Economic Education, and Environmental Design, ISEED, Antwi, Akom.
Oh, man. Thanks for having me. Can I have the clicker?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Greetings, Verge, San Francisco, 2014. So my name is Antwi Akom, and I'm the co-founder of ISEED, which stands for the Institute for Sustainable Economic, Educational, and Environmental Design. And I'm here to talk to you all today about building smart cities from the ground up. So to me, the challenge of the 21st century is really the challenge of how do we redesign and reimagine our smart cities of the future. Will we redesign and reimagine our cities for rich or for poor people, for people of color or for white folks, for eco-haves or eco-have-nots? And who will have a say in how we redesign our smart cities of the future? Will it be powerful elites or will it be everyday people? My research and scholarship for the past several years has really focused on two things. One, how do we create more democratic models of civic engagement? And how do we democratize data? That is, how do we create more open, more efficient, more transparent ways to make our cities smarter? And in a nutshell, I've really been focusing on how does innovation born out of poverty and cutting-edge technology transform some of our world's greatest social problems. Now, what does an innovation out of poverty framework really look like? An innovation out of poverty framework would take socially responsible design. It would examine how does socially responsible design transform the structures that impact our daily lives while at the same time meeting the triple bottom line. Let me give you an example. How many of you know who this man is? By a raise of hands. Okay, nobody. It's the first time that's ever happened. Anyway, this is Dr. Charles Drew, right? And his big innovation during his time, his big challenge that he was facing was there was this silly notion that black folks and white folks couldn't share the same blood. So his big innovation out of poverty was to actually create blood banks. And those blood banks revolutionized the way that blood transfusions were done. Or how about this woman? This is Maria Gonzalez. And the big challenge that she faced was that too many black and brown folks were dying of malaria. And her big innovation, her big idea was to come up with an anti-parasitic drug that would combat malaria and allow more folks to live healthier lives. And the next woman shows that innovation can happen from the ground level, right? Her name is Morgan Dixon from Girl Trek. And her big innovation was to transform the social determinants of health that are really impacting black women across the United States. And I'm going to allow you to listen to her story very quickly.
Good morning, my name is Morgan Dixon. I'm out for my morning walk. I'm a part of an organization called Girl Trek that has rallied and mobilized 10,000 black women and girls to take a step out and to walk for their health together across the country from our communities out of the front door. We walk 5 days a week, 30 minutes a day for 8 weeks straight to restart, jumpstart, kickstart healthier lives and to combat these statistics that say we're going to die earlier, younger, at higher rates than any other group in the country. 4 out of 5 of us are over a healthy weight. All of this is preventable. We know that walking changes things. When black women walk together, it has always changed things. When women in Montgomery walked, it changed. When Harriet Tubman walked, it changed. And when we walk, things will change. I look forward to telling you more about this incredible organization. 10,000 women are on the streets now, from places like Chattanooga to Detroit, and we are walking it out for our health. Look forward to talking to you more.
And when we're talking about innovation out of poverty, it's really important for us to visualize where innovation is happening across the world. And so what you see up there right now is a map of innovation from outer space. And it's really easy to see where the innovation is happening. You see where all the lights are, where all the electricity is. That's where the innovation isn't happening, right? The innovation is really happening in some of our most emerging markets around the world, where new infrastructure is being built. I'm talking about South America. I'm talking about Africa and many places in Asia. And in the United States, we can say something similar, that there's a great deal of innovation happening in our poorest communities. There are 3.9 million children growing up in neighborhoods of concentrated poverty in the United States. That's 2.5 times the entire size of Manhattan. Across the world, in wealthy countries worldwide, there are 30 million children growing up in neighborhoods of concentrated poverty. Now, let me be clear what I'm saying. That means no matter how hard these young people work in school, no matter how hard their parents work to get ahead, the single greatest determinant of their life chances, of their lifespan, of their command over resources is the zip code that they grow up in. This is a crisis. It is a moral crisis because nobody should be able to tell you, based on your zip code, how well you're going to do in school, whether you're going to succeed, whether you're going to fail, whether you're going to be healthy, whether you're going to be sick, based on the zip code that you were born into or that you live in. And it's a financial crisis because we're spending $63.4 billion on downstream costs, like the prison industrial complex, instead of upstream costs, like innovating our way out of poverty. So the question becomes, what if I said that amazing organizations like the US Green Building Council, like eco-districts, like ULI, like LEED, WELL, PEER, GRESB, what if I said to you that they've done an amazing job identifying the hardware, right? The hardware meaning setting top-down ambitious environmental goals. But we haven't done a very good job of looking at the software, the social fabric of a community, the social conditions in a community, the power of place, the experience that people are having on the ground level that can tell us so much about the built environment and the performance of buildings. What if I said that the best way to build a healthy, happy, high-performing neighborhood is not from the top down, but from the bottom up? Or what if I said instead of building health centers, putting health centers in buildings, buildings should become the centers of health and well-being for an entire community? There's two ways to really accomplish this goal. First, we need more open source architecture, more open source design, more open source data for the people and by the people. And second, instead of continuing to have architects, engineers, urban planners designing for the 1%, we need to all be designing for the 100%. I think that's a good time to clap on that. So what would this kind of innovation out of poverty framework look like, right? Can participatory, open source, community-driven digital technology and mapping really save lives? Can it serve as a conduit between the design community and humanitarian needs? The answer is absolutely. And why don't we take a look at what this looks like in one of our mega cities in the world, in Rio de Janeiro.
Many adults in the favelas of Rio de Janeiro have become inured to their community's safety and environmental hazards, so a recent mapping project recruited a different group to identify such problems: kids. In 2011, 250 youth were recruited to record the dangers they noticed in their neighborhoods in Rio, from garbage piles to faulty stairs. The kids took pictures of the hazards they saw. These photos were then plotted on digital maps of the favelas, creating a powerful visual sense of the health and safety challenges facing these communities. Once the maps were complete, the youth were brought together to discuss which hazards posed the biggest threats. They drew up an action plan and brought it to the government. And the authorities responded. Where there was a landslide risk, a stabilizing wall was built. In an area where garbage accumulations had become a problem, a recycling center was established. Now, the mapping project is looking to expand. Through a partnership with the Ministry of Education, it may soon spread to other areas of Brazil that face the same challenges.
I need to speed up here in terms of my time. This is great for the favelas in Brazil, right? But what about communities right here in the United States? Communities that have been locked out of the smart cities conversation. Communities that have been locked out of the sustainability conversation. Communities that have been locked out of the shareable cities conversation. Communities that have been locked out of the coding conversation. What about our communities? Where iSeed, the organization that I co-found and direct, we've been building game-changing apps for the past several years that allow tools for communities to innovate, for cities to become smarter, for communities to collaborate, and most recently we've been recruiting rock star technology folks, engineers, data scientists, and designers to help us develop community-driven solutions from the ground up. Our most recent platform is called Streetwise. Streetwise is a mobile mapping and SMS platform that gives real-time data about how people are using cities and services. It allows you to answer questions about how walkable is your neighborhood, how breathable is your neighborhood, how well is your neighborhood served by public transit, what are the hot spots and the cool spots for crime, what are the hot spots and the cool spots for next generation green infrastructure. In many ways, some people call it a Yelp for social services. I'm going to run you through a quick example of what Streetwise looks like in action. What you're looking at right now is a map produced by the Alameda County Department of Public Health of grocery stores in East Oakland. And as you can tell from this map, it looks like East Oakland is a veritable food oasis. But by using the Streetwise platform, what you find out is instead of those being grocery stores, those are actually liquor stores. And instead of having a food oasis, you actually have a food desert. Imagine, what does that mean for planning of that community? What does that mean for policy in that community? What does that mean for service delivery in that community? So one of the real innovations of the Streetwise platform is that current tools like WalkScore, they can't tell you how many cracks are in your sidewalk in your community and could a young child get hurt on that. They can't measure, right, how many lanes of traffic a mother or father have to cross when they're taking their child to school. They can't differentiate between different types of amenities, between a liquor store or a grocery store. The 2.0 version of our Streetwise platform seeks to use peoples as sensors and combine that and seamlessly integrate that with artificial intelligence. So now we can begin to tell you how a person grows also fits with how a building grows, right? So now, as the person changes, the building changes with them. It optimizes energy efficiency, it lowers savings, it helps reduce the carbon footprint, and it increases security. We recently received funding to launch our Streetwise platform across 8 cities in the United States. In our demonstration projects, when we used Streetwise in San Diego, we were able to identify arsenic in the water, and the big policy win was safer drinking fountains for the kids in San Diego. When we used it in Merced, we were able to identify a transportation gap, and the big policy win was narrowing the transportation gap. And I just showed you the really innovative work that we've done in East Oakland in terms of food deserts and food oases. There are 75 million Americans that will need access to social services. That's 1 out of every 4 of you in this room. Wouldn't it be great if there was a place where you could go to get started, where you could also be politically and civically engaged, where you could look at jobs, parks, safe routes to school, help prioritize next generation infrastructure and community benefits? Well, there is. Her name is Streetwise. She's tough, she's smart, she's analytical, she's connected, and she knows just about everyone in the city. Her vision is to build sustainable cities and schools so that people do not have to leave their communities in order to live, learn, work, and thrive. Thank you very much.